Psalms 140:1. To the chief musician, a psalm of David. Deliver me, O Yahweh, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent's adder. Poison is under their lips. All praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, for putting the spirit on me to do another lesson. Yahweh is who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and is no God beside them. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit, and salutations to the elect, whom the Lord have given ears to hear. So it says, Canadian police warned that people with traditional values could be extremists. Their remarks have triggered, it says people with traditional values could be extremists, according to Canadian police. Their remarks have triggered a fierce backlash among conservatives who accuse the force of labeling mainstream views as extreme. Spokeswoman for Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Staff Sergeant Camille Hable, has urged people to be vigilant following the arrest of 4 people in Quebec who were allegedly involved in ideologically motivated violent extremists. And we look up this word, it says ideologically motivated violent extremism is characterized by the use of violence to achieve political or social change, often driven by a range of beliefs and grievances rather than a single ideology. This type of extremism includes various forms such as xenophobic violence, anti-authority violence, and gender-driven violence. Online and offline, IMVE can manifest both online through the spread of extremist rhetoric and offline through acts of violence. Right? And we know us over here at Great Millstone, right, whereas we are characterized as black extremists, black Hebrew Israelites, we got the online part down to where in their eyes, all right, we spread extremist rhetoric, saying that the Lord don't like you devils, all right, and that our people needs to separate from you, all right, and that essentially we're going to have you as our slaves. So to them, that's considered extremist rhetoric, and offline through acts of violence. Now, that's not us. Nevertheless, you have other so-called black Hebrew Israelites, which were not black Hebrew Israelites, but I say so-called, right? Because that's what they label us as. These guys, they go on these various platforms and they make fools out of themselves, painting this thing in the likeness, or painting this thing in the way this devil would paint it, right? Whereas they go, they get interviewed on these various platforms, and on their interview they're talking about black this, white that, going to the gun range, doing things that a militia group would do, saying things that various paid off platforms had done, right? So it's only a matter of time before something is done, all right, carnally, and we're to be blamed. So it says, the Telegraph reports 2 of those arrested in a plot to seize part of Quebec were members of the armed forces. Sergeant Hable was asked by CTV What Canadians should look out for in the wake of the arrest? Well, radicalization in general quite often will show by people isolating themselves and changing their behavior, like changing what they're saying on a subject, like becoming more extremists. If someone you know believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden is leaning towards traditional values, that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist. Right? So, in other words, if you, let's say you don't believe in the Bible, right? But you know, you're a person, male or female, that believe in traditional gender roles, then you will also be considered a extremist, right? Which extremists, like the apostles always go into, that goes into newspeak. So it says a person who holds extreme or fanatical political or religious views, especially one who resorts to or advocates extreme action, right? And traditional values, one who believes in traditional values, you know, again, that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, you know, and they were created what they were created for. All right, pretty much go into the ways of the past. All right, you would be considered an extremist. As a matter of fact, this actually reminds me of the book of Wisdom of Solomon, the 2nd chapter, where it says, right, it says, Wisdom of Solomon 2:13, because this is pretty much how this devil looks at us, you know, and as we're seeing, it's being more manifest. It's being manifest more so in these last days. Let's start at 12. Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objective to our infamy, the transgressions of our education. He professeth to have the knowledge of God, and he calleth himself the child of God. He was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us, even to behold, for his life is not like other men's, his ways are of another fashion. All right? And again, our ways is that of the scriptures, all right? Or that of old, of ancient times. All right? When everybody played their role and life was way more simpler. When you could actually define a man and a woman. Right? It says, we are esteemed with him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. Right? Because to go against traditional values is filthy. Right? Because we know traditional values is pretty much order. And to go against order, you are for chaos. And as the scriptures, as it is written, the Lord is not the author of confusion. You know, so as we push Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, neither are we. He pronounces the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that God is his father. Now it says, let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. Right? So this is small, yet we know that it's going to grow into something larger. Remember, the scriptures say at the end of the day that they're going to be destroying those that fear the Lord. Right? Those that believe in traditional values, if you will. It says, but we also have to remember that having the most extremist views is perfectly legal in Canada. For now. And that's it. And that it's only acting with violence to prove that view that becomes a criminal offense. Her remarks triggered an angry backlash among Canadian conservatives. Ron Chinzer, a former conservative candidate, accused the RCMP of labeling mainstream views as extreme. He said the police were ignoring left-wing extremists in an interview of the True North News. What we see here is our national police force utilizing the most basic concept of every religious group, that a strong family is a strong community. And now we're being told by our national police force that any pivot back to that, to revalue family values as we know it here in Western society, is actually moving towards extremism. Right? And pretty much this devil is showing himself. He's showing his horns in these last days. Right? He's on his way to create what's known as a new world order. And when you look at his track record, anytime he changed the course of things, it was through the sword, and this is no different. All right, and it's pretty much, as we're reading, it's pretty much being seen. It's being seen. It's being made manifest. It says, I've never seen, and I look for it. Hey, the scriptures say in Revelation, the 13th chapter, that this beast is going to make all worship his image, that if you don't worship his image, you're going to be put to death. So as he's pretty much creating a new way of life for the world, he's Xing out all those that speak contrary. Where, this is all talk, but eventually he's going to have to make a move. And when he does make a move, those that are not truly rooted in something other than themselves, really in the Lord, those that are not the elect, essentially, they're going to fall for the bait, just as they did the CV situation. I've never seen, and I look for it, it says really much about any mention of other extremism like left-wing extremism. Why is it always pivoting this way to the right? And since when has the thousands of years of historic values that we all carry now moved to any other pivot? Right? So this here comes a slithering serpent. Here comes a slithering serpent. And speaking of, I guess this is just an add-on. I seen the Apostle Tahar. He did a reply to the brother out there in Dallas, Tazama. It says, kill Gates, as he called him, Gil Bates. But this guy has many names, many nicknames amongst the Akim. We call him Kill Hates. Kill Hates over here at, over here in New Jersey. All right, Kill Hates unveils plans to see-hip all babies worldwide before they're born. And that's also amongst prophecy. So we see, all right, Revelation 13, 14 on down, jumping off the pages. All right, first and foremost, they're going to make you accept the image. All right, which is his new way of life that he's creating. And then they're going to make you accept, or they're going to force that MOTB, which is a C-hip, on you by way of death. All right, so the pressure's coming down. We ought to pray to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, to align our hearts with prophecy. Not with fear, but with prophecy. This is Psalms 46. And 1, to the chief musician for the sons of Korah, a song upon Alamoth. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled. And when you go into Revelation 17, the waters could also represent nations. Right? Revelation 17, around the 16th verse, right? So here it is, these nations, because these nations, which as in that same chapter speaks on um these nations, these various nations being the 7 heads and 10 horns, they're gonna have one mind with the beast. They're gonna have all these nations, Salakia, the EU, NATO, and of such alike, right, are going to push the MOTB. They're going to change society and swerve it towards the MOTB, right? He causeth all. Remember that. Though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. Okay? But we must remember the precepts where the Lord said he will make a way to escape. Salakia, let me see if it was more than that. Right, it says, there is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, she shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. So the elect will be helped. All right, and we're going to jump over to Corinthians now. And verse 10, chapter 10, verse 13. They have no temptation taking you, but such as is common to men. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. So if that, shalom to your elect.